In 1997, Netflix charged $4 to rent a DVD by mail. In 2024, Netflix generated $39 billion in revenue. In between, Netflix made 3 decisions that each could have destroyed the company. One of them almost did. Reed Hastings founded Netflix in 1997 with Mark Randolph and a single insight. DVDs were light enough to mail profitably through the U.S. Postal Service. Unlike VHS tapes, they fit in a standard envelope. The founding story most people know, the $40 late fee for Apollo 13, may be partly mythology. Hastings himself has acknowledged the story was likely sharpened for narrative purposes over time. But the underlying insight was real. If you could mail DVDs cheaply, you could offer something Blockbuster never could. Unlimited selection, no late fees, no driving to a store. The model was subscription-based from 1999, $15.95 per month for unlimited rentals. You kept as many DVDs as you wanted, for as long as you wanted, and mailed them back when you were done. Blockbuster was generating $800 million a year in late fees. Netflix was charging nothing extra. By 2001, Netflix had 456,000 subscribers despite the dot-com crash. By 2002, it went public at $15 per share. And then Reed Hastings did something remarkable. At the moment Netflix was succeeding, he started planning to destroy it. In 2004, Netflix began quietly investing in streaming technology, 3 years before it launched, at a time when most American homes did not have broadband fast enough to stream video reliably. This is important. Hastings was not responding to a streaming trend. He was betting that the trend would arrive before Netflix's DVD business peaked. He was right, but only barely. In January 2007, Netflix launched streaming, initially called Watch Now, with 1,000 titles available for instant viewing. The same month, Steve Jobs announced the iPhone. The convergence of broadband, smartphones, and streaming was beginning. The streaming service was offered free to existing DVD subscribers. Netflix was subsidizing its own future with its present. The DVD business kept growing. The streaming library kept expanding. By 2010, Netflix was available on gaming consoles, smart TVs, and the iPad, which had just launched. Then in 2010, Netflix announced it was expanding internationally, to Canada first, then the UK, Ireland, and Latin America. In January 2016, it added 130 new countries in a single day. But the second pivot almost killed the company. In July 2011, Netflix made what many consider the worst corporate communication decision of the decade. The company announced it was splitting its DVD and streaming services and raising prices by 60% in the process. Instead of $14 a month for both, customers would pay $8 for streaming and $8 for DVDs separately, $24 total if they wanted both. The reaction was immediate and ferocious. Then, 3 months later, Hastings made it worse. He announced that the DVD business would be spun off into a separate company called Qwikster. Netflix would be streaming only. Qwikster would handle DVDs. The internet exploded. Customers who had forgiven the price increase were now being told they would need 2 separate accounts, 2 separate websites, and 2 separate billing relationships. Netflix lost 800,000 subscribers in a single quarter. The stock price fell 77% from its peak. Analysts began openly questioning whether Hastings had lost his mind. Hastings apologized. He reversed the Qwikster decision within 3 weeks. The DVD business stayed. The price increase stayed. But the apology was real. In his public letter, Hastings wrote, "I messed up. I owe everyone an explanation." He did not blame his team. He did not blame market conditions. He said he had failed to communicate the strategy clearly and had underestimated how much customers valued the existing product. The remarkable thing? Netflix survived. And survived because the strategy underneath the communication failure was correct. Streaming was the future. Separating the two businesses, even if the execution was disastrous, was the right direction. After surviving the Qwikster disaster, Netflix made another bet that most analysts thought was reckless. In 2012, Netflix committed $100 million to produce 2 full seasons of House of Cards, a political drama directed by David Fincher, without ever seeing a pilot. Traditional networks required a pilot, evaluated audience response, and then decided whether to order a season. Netflix skipped the pilot entirely, committed to 2 full seasons, and released all 13 episodes of Season 1 simultaneously, on February 1st, 2013. Binge-watching was not a term anyone used before House of Cards. Netflix essentially invented the cultural behavior. House of Cards earned 9 Emmy nominations, It proved that streaming platforms could produce content that competed with and beat the best traditional television. But the more important consequence was data. Netflix had watched its subscribers watch content for years. It knew which directors, which actors, which political themes, which narrative structures kept people watching. House of Cards was not a creative gamble. It was a data-driven production dressed as creative ambition. Stranger Things, The Crown, Squid Game, the original strategy that followed House of Cards transformed Netflix from a content distributor into a content creator. By 2024, Netflix was spending $17 billion a year on content. In April 2022, Netflix reported its first subscriber loss in a decade. 1 million subscribers gone in a single quarter. The stock fell 35% in a single day. The streaming wars on Disney+, HBO Max, Apple TV+, Peacock had arrived. The pandemic growth tailwind was gone, and an estimated 100 million households were using Netflix accounts they did not pay for. Hastings had previously said Netflix would never crack down on password sharing. He reversed course. In 2022, Netflix launched its ad-supported tier, breaking a decade-long commitment to being ad-free. In 2023, it began enforcing password sharing restrictions globally. Both decisions triggered immediate backlash. Both decisions worked. By 2024, the ad-supported tier had 70 million monthly active users. Password sharing enforcement added tens of millions of new paying subscribers. Revenue for 2024 reached $39 billion. By end of 2025, Netflix had 325 million paid subscribers and generated $8 billion in free cash flow, the most profitable year in the company's history. Netflix's story is not a story about disruption. Every business school teaches disruption. It is a story about self-disruption, the willingness to destroy what is working before someone else does. That is far rarer and far harder. Lesson 1. The hardest competition is with your past success. Netflix's DVD business was profitable and growing when Hastings began investing in streaming. Every financial incentive said, protect the DVD business. Every instinct said, do not undercut your own revenue. He invested in streaming anyway. Then he invested in original content while still licensing others' content. Then he added ads after a decade of being ad-free. Each time, the decision meant cannibalizing something that was working. The companies that failed to adapt, Blockbuster, Nokia, Kodak, almost always fail not because the new thing was inevitable, but because the old thing was too profitable to abandon voluntarily. Netflix chose to make itself obsolete before the market did. Lesson 2. Strategy can be right even when execution is catastrophic. The Qwikster decision was a communication disaster, but the underlying strategy, separating DVD and streaming, treating them as different businesses, was correct. Netflix needed to stop subsidizing the past with the future. When evaluating a decision that went badly, always separate the strategy from the execution. Bad execution of a good strategy can be fixed. Good execution of a bad strategy usually cannot. Lesson 3. Data is a creative advantage, not just an operational one. Netflix did not make House of Cards because it thought political dramas were popular. It made House of Cards because its viewing data showed that people who liked the original British House of Cards also liked David Fincher films and Kevin Spacey performances. And that group was large enough to justify a $100 million investment. The use of data to reduce creative risk, not to eliminate it, but to inform it, is a competitive advantage that traditional Hollywood studios did not have and could not easily replicate. Lesson 4. Saying I was wrong publicly is a strategy, not a weakness. Hastings' apology letter after Qwikster was specific, personal, and unhedged. He did not say we didn't communicate well. He said, I messed up. Netflix lost 800,000 subscribers in one quarter, and then won them back. Not because the price increase was reversed, it wasn't, but because the apology was genuine, the strategy was ultimately correct, and the product continued to improve. In business and in personal relationships, the willingness to say, I was wrong, here is what I am going to do differently, is often more powerful than being right the first time. In April 2023, Netflix quietly shut down its DVD by mail service, 25 years after a compact disc survived its first trip through the U.S. Postal Service. The service that started everything ended with no announcement, no fanfare. It had simply become unnecessary. In 2026, Netflix is investing in live sports, expanding into gaming, and generating $11 billion in projected free cash flow. It is, by most measures, the dominant entertainment platform on Earth. Not because it got it right the first time, because it was willing to be wrong, admit it, and try again. Subscribe to Founders and Fortunes. Every week, we break down the biggest business stories in history and find the lessons hiding inside them. Next week, how Jeff Bezos' worst investment nearly cost him Amazon, and the decision he made that changed everything. I'll see you there.